Howdy, y'all. So I'm going for rTMS, repetitive magnetic, no wait, repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation. There, I got it. And basically they just put a magnet to your brain to the right DLPFC. So that should be like somewhere like right here-ish, around here. Dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. The right side, it's like around here. And then they'll use like magnetic stimulation. It's not electrical, it's not ECT, it's not electroconvulsive therapy. It's like just a magnet, and it is supposed to stimulate the brain. It's supposed to be a treatment for depression, anxiety, but it can also treat other things too. From some studies, there's some evidence of it being able to treat things like concussion symptoms, being able to treat like I think PTSD, being able to treat like some other things too, like OCD, I think, and also some like limited stuff for like bipolar and maybe even schizophrenia or like some certain symptoms of it. But I'm just hoping that it would help me. You know, I'm going there. I'm really thankful that they actually let me have it. They were like gonna not let me have it before, just because I put on my like pre-form that they had me fill out. That one doctor at one point had said that I had like schizoaffective, and that was like their cutoff thing, is that they won't treat anyone with a schizophrenia. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't even know if I really even have that, or I don't know what's going on with that. You know, they never properly assessed me. They just kind of said I had that. And then so anyways, I'm thankful because they called and checked or did something, and then they let me go through the treatment. So now I'm supposed to start it today, pretty soon actually, within an hour or something. And I just wanted to record like what's it like for me now or before rTMS, because I want to see what it's like for me after too. And so what is it like? Well, I would say it's horrible, and every day is horrible. Like 9 out of 10 days are horrible, let's just put it that way. I find almost everyone and everything irritating. I don't really feel any goodness aside from when I'm praying. And I don't really feel any ease. And I feel like I'm just like kind of suffering on different levels throughout the days. Like some days it's really bad. And I don't really feel happiness. I feel almost constant worry, stress, and loneliness. And my thoughts are always like kind of like going to, but I can't like communicate very well with people about them. And I'm not saying that worry and stress aren't normal, because they are. There's like, you know, everybody's got to have a certain level of stress, and everybody has certain worries, of course. But when they're constant or near constant, that's like where it's like really hard to deal with. And it causes like a lot of suffering. Now, I really try to embrace suffering as much as I can. You know, like pick up your cross and follow me. That's what Jesus said. And Jesus suffered a lot. Like he suffered a ton. So well, the neighbor showed up to do some yard work in the backyard, so I'm just gonna switch spots. Over here now. Okay. So sorry for the interruption. But I guess I could just hold this kind of a bad angle though. Okay, so then what else going on is the loneliness. Like I've been lonely like almost my entire life, and loneliness is kind of like a feeling, you know. Even if you're around people, you can still feel lonely. Um, so I'm lonely in some deep level, like in a childhood level, and that's from childhood traumas, neglect, and so forth. Um, but also, um, uh, because my sexuality has been screwed around with, so I'm lonely in kind of like a way that has to do with sexuality as well, because you know, I was exposed to like pornography too early. Um, there's all this shame in my household around sex and everything. Um, my mom scared me about it. She like explained sex to me when I was too young. Um, so that and also I was like sexually abused by the neighbor kid in kind of like a more minor way. Um, but apparently some people say that there's no, you're not supposed to say that about like every sexual abuse is very serious or something. But anyways, I know that there's some people that get really sexually abused horribly. But anyways, so that's part of it as well, in my own story, and then, or my own life rather. And it's also it's really hard to describe these things, so I'm kind of fumbling when I describe it. But that's part of the loneliness thing. Um, oh, okay, and also I have a lot of like sexual urges and desires all the time. It's really bothersome and frustrating as well. Um, and another thing is that I have a hard time caring about people too. So even like caring about women as well, like in a relationship sense, I actually have a hard time kind of caring or like knowing how to care. But also like my dad wasn't there when I was a kid, and he used to beat up my mom when he was there. So there was no examples, no healthy examples. Um, but also I kind of don't care about people in general. It's weird. It's almost like I do and I don't. So part of me does, part of me doesn't. It's very weird in a way, and hard to, doesn't make a whole ton of sense. Maybe it makes sense if you think about it like in parts, you know, like part of me does and part kind of doesn't as well. But like I guess the way I care about people is that I know the Bible says we are supposed to love everybody, love your neighbor as you love yourself, and above all, love God, obviously. But yeah, I just, people, there's a lot of things about people that kind of are frustrating, irritating, annoying, and so forth. Um, do 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 do. Oh, right. So for me, I feel like I don't care about people in the way they want me to. That's kind of more accurate. Um, all right. So right. So for me, it feels like sex has always been kind of like this like goal in my life. Um, whoa, there's a huge freaking centipede came out of nowhere. Ugh, it's freaky, man. Just knock him away. I'll throw him outside after. I'm just trying to do this video so I can remember like what's it like, what's going on, but before rTMS, if there's any difference. Okay, so right, so I think there's like some sort of healthy balance with sexuality. Like obviously, I just have not found it. This bug keeps crawling closer to me. Get out of here. It's gross. I hit it away and it like speeds up and keeps running back. Okay, so gross. Freaky little bug. Okay, All right. Yeah, okay. So obviously as God intended, right? There's a healthy sex is, there's a healthy way, but I really have trouble with a healthy balance finding it. So sexual thoughts for me are high, and it's kind of always been that way. And then shame also prevents, for most of my life, shame prevents having a healthy discussion of the topic or kind of like moving forward with it in like more of a healthy way. Um, okay, yeah, and then so like how I view people, um, I kind of view modern women as stupid and degenerate for the most part. But I view that about almost everybody though. And not everybody, but a lot of people, especially like depending on what you see online and everything. Um, do do do. Yeah, I believe that people should have families and focus on raising healthy children, and I believe that women should be obedient, know their role as women, and focus on raising healthy children. I'm not trying to single out women as much. I'm saying that if men were doing their role too, people would fall in place, right? But right now, currently, I think that modern women are really far gone. And because I think that the men really let that happen and encouraged them to be that way, because I believe that the men were manipulated by Jews who work for the devil. Um, so, anyways, loneliness, I think, and sexual urges, those are like a big part of my suffering and part of like the cross that I have to pick up and bear as well. And then another thing that I struggle with is I get like these kind of like episodes, and I'm just being really honest here in this video. I get like these kind of like episodes where sometimes I feel like I'm going crazy, but that's been happening for many years, and I think it's like a mild bipolar or something. But with those episodes, I'm just sort of like not here. I'm not like fully here. Like I'm always kind of like numbed out in a certain way, because of like all the trauma. It's like dissociation and everything. That's kind of a way that the brain and body deals with it, right? But sometimes I feel like it's like worse, and I feel kind of like I'm just like not here. I'm functioning on sort of like a survival level, just trying to like survive the day, trying to survive like whatever situation I'm in. And sometimes that happens. And then also sometimes I get, oh, sorry, yeah, and also everything feels bad when I'm in that sort of state. And things can even feel sort of distorted in a way. And I feel like people don't really know what I'm saying when I say this, but and it kind of messes with people too when I say this stuff because it's so real and they have their own thoughts about this too and kind of like plays into their fears. But when I say things are distorted, I think that it feels like just like, everybody's kind of everything kind of unfriendly, everything kind of like mean, things are not going to go well. That's kind of how I feel sometimes when I'm in that survival. I really go into that survival state. But anyways, so this was actually way worse when I was living in this other town, but it's been getting actually better. But it was way worse when I was in that other town. Um, but I've been improving sort of over months, and yeah, over the last few months I've been improving. But so also I get this kind of amnesia too, where it's like I'm looping in sort of a way, but I'm only partially aware of it. And personally, I think it's like a form of insanity, brought on by all the trauma, abuse, drugs that I've took, and the horrible state of our society. But I have to say that it feels awful. It feels so awful. But the reason I say that it's like a form of the looping thing is like a form of insanity, because they say like, what's the definition of insanity? It's doing the same thing over and expecting a different result. So yeah, I feel like probably that's me putting way too much emphasis on myself and emphasis on me fixing my own problems, when really I should be putting myself in God's hands, which I've been doing more, praying more, and that's where I'm feeling more, more like better, improved, like I feel better, slowly anyway. But anyways, so in that sort of looping thing and amnesia thing, it really feels awful, and that was happening a lot too. And I think it's like really survival based, I'll put it that way. And also, one last thing I'll say about that is that when I was kind of like looping or whatever, it was like I was trying to like always like fix my life through self-improvement or through doing something or whatever, so that I could finally be accepted, be loved, be able to talk to people, able to feel okay. You know what I mean? So I was kind of like going about it through that way, through trying to like fix like what could I focus on type of thing, and fix everything that I could focus on type of thing. So it's like I kind of lacked the acceptance of knowing that it's actually not really in my hands, and it's in God's hands. I have to always be humble and try and align myself with God's will, right? So, right, okay. So another thing that I suffer from is actually also called, or it's called selective mutism, which selective mutism is it's a lifelong thing I've been suffering from. It's like being mute or not being able to talk in only select or certain scenarios. So like when I feel comfortable around people that I kind of like sort of like trust in some way, I feel okay to talk, I can say stuff, right? But for the most part, I feel really scared around people. And this is just from childhood trauma, from, never just being like kind of like an accessory or an afterthought, and never being able to, never being like fully taken care of by my parents, by my family, being bullied constantly in school, when I would say the wrong thing or something. So I just learned to be selectively mute, like just not say anything. And it's kind of like a feeling too. It's just like I can't speak type of feeling, or like even if there's like thoughts in my head, it's like hard to say them. And it gets worse too, because I feel like I'm aware that other people are noticing, like, oh, this guy's kind of weird, or something weird's going on. And it just makes it worse, right? So it's like it's hugely an anxiety thing. Okay, and then yeah, and speech difficulties and irregularities as well, because sometimes I'll feel really talkative, and sometimes I'll be like almost like I can't talk, when I said about those different states that I could feel like I'm in, like survival or whatever. Sometimes I just don't even feel like talking. A lot of times I feel irritated by everything people are saying. So it gives some speech difficulties, And also sometimes I don't even want to say too much, because I feel like then I'll open up more cans of worms if I get people excited, and then I have to like deal with their excitement. So it's kind of like that. It's complicated, right? And I also feel like people are just retarded too, that I talk to. Like they're just retarded. Like they're almost like exhausting to talk to. This is why I say like they're irritating. Like they're counting, like they're trying to like count, like they're trying to do like 2 + 2, and I'm trying to like talk about like like a more advanced math equation type of thing. And it's just a metaphor example, but it's like you have to keep everything so basic because people are just so stupid. And it's just like that gets annoying too, you know? Like, and I'm not trying to be arrogant or anything, but you know, you can't even like have like a real conversation with people sometimes too. Partly because I feel like people are in like different realities in a way. Like you say anything that is kind of like out of the basic mainstream, and it's like people seize up and you can't even get a conversation going. You know, they get so triggered. It's just a mess. Like discourse is such a mess in our society, I feel too. So yeah, I have this big fear of conflict as well. That's a good way to put it too, is actually I do have a fear of conflict, right? Even though conflict is natural to a certain level, right? So, right, so I kind of feel like the society is in a way screwed energetically. Everybody's really drained. And I don't really like to say that, but I also feel like the society is really kind of screwed up spiritually too, you know? Like people don't go to church, they barely have a relationship with God. Nobody talks about it out in the world very much. You know, most of the conversations are just kind of like fake. It's like, it's really kind of sad. Or it's, I don't know about sad, but it's like really, it's gross what's going on, you know? Yeah, so in conclusion, what it's like for me in my life past so far, past few years especially, well actually much of my life, is it's been really horrible. I would say the past few years especially has been way more horrible because I've started to really not feel like anything. Like the anhedonia or something, it's pretty bad. You know, the lack of feeling happy about anything is really tough. But I still give thanks and praise to God genuinely because suffering actually brings us closer to God. So, you know, we don't understand God's plan. We don't know the reason for everything. And our suffering, you know, we can offer it up for other people too because other people can kind of hear what we're saying. Maybe it relates to their life in a way. Maybe it helps move them closer to God as well, right? So I always give praise to God, always thank God for everything, even the quote unquote suffering, or just always praise God, right? So, yeah, very important to do that. Very, very important. Even if your life is, you feel like your life is terrible, it's horrible, always give praise, glory and praise to God for everything.